Welcome back to CrimePod Castle's Twisted Love series. Today we're taking you to the heart of Mumbai,
Oh, okay.
2016.
All right.
Imagine a young woman, Shraddha Nigam, full of life, a rising star in the graphic design world.
Oh.
She had dreams, ambitions, and a love story
Oh.
that seemed perfect from the outside.
Okay.
But something went terribly wrong.
Oh, my.
This is a deep dive into a case that shocked the city and exposed the dark underbelly of a seemingly ordinary relationship gone wrong.
What's particularly intriguing about this case is how it challenges our perception of crimes of passion.
Right.
We often associate them with sudden bursts of rage,
Right.
a momentary lapse of judgment.
Right.
But the murder of Shraddha Nigam reveals a much more chilling reality, a slow burn of obsession and control that ultimately culminated in a devastating act of violence.
So let's start by painting a picture of Shraddha.
Okay.
She was just 25, already making waves at a top design agency, known for her creativity and that infectious energy she brought to every room.
Right.
Everyone who knew her saw a bright future ahead.
And she was deeply in love with Kunal Verma,
Oh,
a freelance photographer.
okay.
Their 2-year relationship seemed like the kind that fairy tales are made of.
Mm.
But beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to appear.
It's almost like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Yeah.
You see those warning signs
Yeah.
and subtle shifts in behavior,
Right.
but you can't quite believe it's happening until it's too late.
Precisely.
Yeah.
In this case, those warning signs manifested in Kunal's growing possessiveness.
Okay.
Friends and family recall instances where he had questioned Shraddha about her male colleagues, scrutinize her social interactions, and generally exert an unsettling level of control over her life.
It's like that feeling of being suffocated,
Yeah.
slowly losing your breath as someone tightens their grip on your world. And it's often difficult for those trapped in such a situation to realize the danger they're in until it's too late.
That suffocating feeling,
Right.
that erosion of personal freedom is often a hallmark of toxic relationships. Kunal's possessiveness wasn't just a harmless expression of love.
Right.
It stemmed from a deep-seated insecurity that was festering within him.
And this insecurity,
Yeah.
this need to control,
Right.
seems to have been fueled by his own professional struggles. While Shraddha was soaring high in her career,
Right.
Kunal was grappling with establishing himself as a photographer.
Okay.
It's as if he projected his frustrations onto her, blaming her success for his own perceived failures.
This is a pattern we often see in cases like this.
Right?
The abuser's own insecurities and anxieties become a breeding ground for resentment and a distorted sense of reality. They create a narrative of betrayal, convincing themselves that their partner's success somehow comes at their expense.
So instead of celebrating her achievements,
He saw them as a threat,
right,
a sign that she was slipping away from his grasp.
exactly.
And as her career continued to blossom, Kunal's grip on her life tightened even further.
Wow.
He began accusing her of infidelity,
Oh,
monitoring her movements,
Wow.
and sending threatening messages.
right.
It was a classic case of emotional abuse escalating into something far more sinister.
And that's where the tragic irony lies. Shraddha, sensing the toxicity of the relationship, was trying to regain her independence.
Oh.
She confided in friends about Kunal's controlling behavior and hinted at ending the relationship.
Oh.
But her attempts to break free only served to fuel his paranoia and obsession.
It's heartbreaking to think that her courage, her desire to reclaim her life, is what ultimately sealed her fate.
The tragic reality is that abusers often perceive any attempt at independence as a threat to their control.
Right.
And that's when things can escalate to a terrifying level, turning a once loving relationship into a nightmare. And tragically, that's exactly what happened on the fateful night of October 17th, 2016.
Oh.
Shraddha, unaware of the danger that awaited her, returned home from work,
Okay.
expecting nothing more than an ordinary evening. Little did she know that Kunal, consumed by his own twisted narrative, was waiting for her, with a plan in mind.
Wow.
A plan driven by his obsession and fueled by a rage that had been simmering for months.
It's a chilling reminder that even in the bustling heart of a city like Mumbai, darkness can lurk in the most unexpected places.
Right?
And sometimes the people we believe we love the most can become the source of our greatest fear. Yeah. What happened next is a horrifying sequence of events that sent shockwaves through the city.
Oh,
Kunal, driven by his distorted perception of betrayal, confronted Shraddha in her apartment.
okay.
Neighbors later reported hearing a heated argument.
Right.
Shouts that pierced the night.
Oh, my.
A desperate struggle behind closed doors.
It's like a scene ripped from a thriller. Those moments where, something terrible is about to happen, but you can't turn away.
Right.
You're both horrified and strangely compelled to see how it all unfolds.
In this case, the unfolding tragedy ended in brutal violence.
Oh, God.
Kunal, in a fit of rage, grabbed a kitchen knife and attacked Shraddha, inflicting multiple stab wounds.
Oh.
She didn't stand a chance. By the time help arrived, it was too late.
It's a stark reminder of how quickly a situation can spiral out of control.
Yeah.
How easily love can morph into hate when fueled by obsession and a lack of emotional control.
The aftermath of the crime was a whirlwind of activity. Kunal, realizing the gravity of his actions, fled the scene desperate to escape the consequences.
Right.
But the police were already hot on his trail. The investigation that followed was meticulous, piecing together the puzzle of events leading up to that fateful night.
It's like those crime dramas, where every clue, every piece of evidence brings them closer to the truth. It's a race against time, a battle between the cunning of the perpetrator and the unwavering determination of the investigators.
And in this case, the investigators had a wealth of evidence to work with.
Right.
Witnesses placed Kunal at the scene of the crime.
Right.
His fingerprints were found on the murder weapon and other items in Shraddha's apartment. And perhaps most damning of all, Shraddha's phone contained a series of threatening messages from Kunal.
Oh, wow.
A digital trail of jealousy and possessiveness that painted a chilling picture of his escalating obsession.
It's a stark reminder that in the digital age, our actions leave behind a trail.
Yeah.
A record of our thoughts and intentions that could be used to piece together the truth.
Right.
Even when we try our hardest to erase it.
2 days after the murder, as Kunal was attempting to flee the city, the long arm of the law caught up with him. Faced with overwhelming evidence, he confessed to the crime.
Wow.
But his confession, instead of bringing closure, only added another layer of complexity to the case.
It's like that moment in a courtroom drama where the accused takes the stand and the tension in the air is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
Right.
Everyone's waiting to hear their side of the story, hoping to understand what could have driven them to such an act.
Kunal claimed he acted in a moment of passion.
Okay.
A sudden burst of rage triggered by his belief that Shraddha had betrayed him.
Right.
But the evidence, particularly the pattern of controlling behavior and the premeditated nature of the attack, pointed to something far more sinister.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Yeah.
Each revelation revealing a deeper, darker truth.
Right.
And in this case, the truth was that this wasn't just a crime of passion.
Yeah.
It was a calculated act of violence, fueled by a dangerous cocktail of obsession, jealousy, and a complete lack of respect for Shraddha's autonomy.
The trial that followed was a media sensation, capturing the attention of the entire nation. The prosecution, armed with the weight of evidence, argued that the murder was premeditated, painting Kunal as a controlling and abusive partner who had systematically eroded Shraddha's independence before taking her life.
It's those courtroom scenes where the lawyers spar, each presenting their version of events, each trying to sway the jury to their side.
Yeah.
You're on the edge of your seat, wondering who the jury will believe, whose narrative will ultimately prevail.
The defense, in an attempt to mitigate Kunal's culpability, argued that the murder was a crime of passion, a momentary lapse of judgment driven by his emotional turmoil. They painted him as a man driven to despair by his belief that Shraddha was being unfaithful. A man who had snapped under the weight of his own heartbreak.
It's a classic defense strategy, trying to appeal to the jury's empathy, to paint the perpetrator as a victim of circumstance rather than a cold-blooded killer.
But in this case, the evidence was too strong to ignore. The jury, after weeks of deliberation, delivered a guilty verdict. Kunal Verma was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of Shraddha Nigam.
It's that moment of reckoning.
Yeah.
The hammer of justice coming down, a sense of relief mixed with a profound sadness that a life was taken.
Right.
And another was forever altered by the weight of their actions.
The judge, in his closing remarks, acknowledged the brutality of the crime and the devastating impact it had on Shraddha's family and friends.
Right.
He emphasized the need for greater awareness about the dangers of toxic relationships and the importance of holding abusers accountable for their actions.
It's a sobering reminder that even in a society as advanced as ours, we still have a long way to go in addressing the issue of domestic violence.
Absolutely.
It's a pervasive problem that affects people from all walks of life,
Yeah.
regardless of their social status, education, or cultural background.
And it's a problem that demands our attention.
Right.
Our willingness to challenge societal norms that perpetuate abuse, and our commitment to creating a world where everyone feels safe and respected in their relationships.
The Shraddha Nigam case is a tragic reminder of the devastating consequences that can occur when possessiveness and control spiral out of control.
Exactly.
It's a story that compels us to look beyond the surface, to recognize the subtle warning signs of toxic relationships,
Right.
and to speak up for those who may be trapped in a web of abuse.
It's a story that challenges us to examine our own beliefs about love and relationships, to confront the uncomfortable truths about the prevalence of domestic violence,
Right.
and to work together to create a society where such tragedies are no longer tolerated.
This case, as heart-wrenching as it is, has sparked a much-needed conversation about the insidious nature of domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's forced us to confront the reality that behind closed doors,
Right.
behind the facade of seemingly perfect relationships, darkness can lurk. And love can be twisted into a weapon of control and destruction.
And it's a conversation that needs to continue.
Right.
We need to talk about the red flags.
Yeah.
The subtle signs of abuse that are often dismissed or overlooked. We need to educate ourselves and our children about healthy relationships,
Right.
about respect, boundaries, and consent.
Okay.
And we need to create a culture where victims feel empowered to speak out, knowing that they will be believed and supported.
Shraddha's story, as tragic as it is, can serve as a catalyst for change.
Absolutely.
It can inspire us to be more vigilant, to recognize the signs of abuse, and to offer support to those who may be struggling in silence.
It can remind us that love should never come at the cost of our freedom, our dignity, or our safety.
And it can empower us to speak up, to challenge societal norms that perpetuate abuse, and to demand justice for those who've been silenced by violence. It makes you wonder, how can we recognize those red flags before it's too late?
Yeah, that's the question.
What are the signs that a relationship is crossing that line?
Right.
From love to something far more dangerous?
That's a crucial question, and it's often harder than it seems. Abuse can be insidious, creeping into a relationship, slowly disguised as love or concern.
Right.
But there are certain patterns, certain behaviors that should raise alarm bells.
Like the possessiveness we discussed earlier.
Kunal's
need to control Shraddha's every move,
Right.
her interactions, her time. That wasn't just about being a caring boyfriend.
Right.
It was a warning sign, a red flag
Exactly.
that something wasn't right.
That kind of controlling behavior is often a precursor to more serious forms of abuse.
Right.
It's about power and dominance.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
stripping away a person's autonomy and making them dependent.
And it's not always as blatant as dictating who someone can see or where they can go.
Right.
It can be more subtle, like constantly checking their phone,
Yeah.
monitoring their social media, or questioning their every decision.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to trust your gut.
Right.
If something feels off, if you feel uncomfortable or pressured in a relationship. Right.
Don't ignore those feelings.
Okay.
Talk to someone you trust,
Yeah.
a friend, a family member, a counselor.
Because sometimes it's easier to see the warning signs from the outside. Those who care about us can often spot the red flags before we do.
And it's important to remember that abuse isn't always physical. Emotional and psychological abuse can be just as damaging,
Right.
leaving deep scars that can take years to heal.
Think about the constant put-downs.
Yeah.
The insults, the gaslighting.
Right.
Making someone doubt their own sanity. Those are all forms of abuse that chip away at a person's self-worth.
Right.
Making them feel trapped and powerless.
And it's often a cycle. The abuser will apologize,
Right.
promise to change,
Yeah.
shower their partner with affection only to repeat the pattern of abuse again and again.
Oh.
It's a manipulative tactic designed to keep the victim hooked,
Yeah.
to make them believe that things will get better.
It's a heartbreaking cycle, and it can be incredibly difficult to break free from.
Right. But it's important to remember that you are not alone.
Yeah.
There are resources available to help organizations that provide support, guidance,
Right.
and a safe haven for those seeking to escape abusive relationships.
If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please reach out for help.
Okay.
There are hotlines, shelters, and counseling services available. You don't have to suffer in silence.
And remember, it's never too late to reclaim your life.
Right.
to break free from the chains of abuse and rediscover your own strength and worth.
The Shraddha Nigam case serves as a powerful reminder
Yeah.
that we all have a role to play in preventing domestic violence. It's about educating ourselves, challenging societal norms that condone abuse, and offering support to those who are suffering.
It's about creating a world where love is not a weapon, but a force for good, a source of strength and joy, a celebration of individuality and mutual respect.
And it's a world worth fighting for.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the tragic case of Shraddha Nigam. We hope this conversation has shed light on the complexities of domestic violence, the importance of recognizing the red flags, and the resources available to those who need help.
Remember, you are not alone. There is hope. There is help. There is a path to healing and recovery.
If you'd like to delve further into this case or explore other stories of twisted love, be sure to subscribe to CrimePod Castle.
And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel for additional content and discussions.
Okay.
Until next time, stay safe and informed.